Honorable Boy and Honorable Sabali. Thank you for coming to join us in this very important event, which is part of our evolution in the process of moving our country forward. And also, very special thanks to the World Bank team, and of course, our land specialist, head of WACA and the IMF, representative, the Chinese embassy, the Senegalese embassy, the British, the Americans, and all other embassies represented here. And again, let me say that very special thanks goes to all the delegates here who made it up to be here on time. Coordinator Zhao, thank you for coming on time to this meeting. And I also must say very special thanks to Mr. Abdul Ture and his team, and also remember very well Permanent Secretary Safi Sankare for the jobs he also did while he was with us. Permanent Secretary Ndeye Marie and Permanent Secretary Sisao, who are away on a religious mission, and the Deputy Permanent Secretaries of the two of the ministry by the name of Mr. Tal and Mamadi Manjan, and the directors of lands, survey, deputy directors, senior staff, all the members of staff of the ministry, and of course the governors of the regions, the chiefs who all participated, village heads, civil society groups, interest groups, the private sector, and very especially the Ministry of Agriculture that realized the importance of land management and land usage. They participated and supported the process. The Ministry of Environment stood firmly by us during this process, and all other government agencies and ministries that supported us. The Director of Governance and all other directors who are with us. Indeed, we also saw some very important people in our midst here who are here representing various groups and various organizations, all because we are discussing very important issue, that is the issue of land. Before I read my statement, which is always difficult for Honorable Barr to read from a prepared document, but I have to learn to, just to say that land has become an important issue. And this country needs to take the bull by full responsibility as to how we manage and use land in the Gambia. If we don't do it, what happened to other countries may happen to us. And may God forbid that. Land is a commodity that never expands. One use is gone. Therefore, the usage of land matters very much. The planning, the strategic planning, how we use land matter to our country and our people for that matter, for their very existence and survival. Secondly, the Gambia is one of the most densely populated countries in Africa, number 5. And we've realized in history, most of these countries have gone into conflict, war, with the exception of Gambia and maybe Mauritius, if I can recount. We thank God that we came the President Barrow's government came at the right time to try to address the issue of land. We've also realized that over 70–80% of all the court cases in the Gambia, in the Gambian courts, are all on land matters and land issues. We've also realized that most of the conflict that we are facing right now in the country, internally, are on land issues. So land is an issue that we have to tackle, we have to handle head on as a government and as a country and as a nation. It is important that we realize that time has come for us to say, yes, we got to do it. And that's where here we are today. And one of the things I've observed, and I discussed this thing with the World Bank yesterday, as a country, we must respect our national documents. One of the most important land documents is to have what we call a lease document. Once you have a title, documented title, you have money with you. And for businesses to prosper, for people in the agricultural sector to access capital, for people to access means of improving their businesses, they need to have a title. And if we don't help them get a title, then it will defeat the purpose for our common objective of moving our country forward. And that's why it is important that we take the issue of documents as a serious matter. When you have a title, you go to the bank, you get money to invest, expand your farm, do other businesses, engage in other agricultural activities. You can only do that when you have a title. Therefore, those titles must be protected. They must be honored. And the reinforcement of that lies on the courts, the government, and the security forces. I have often seen people coming to a leased property of an individual, build a house with no records, with no document, absolutely not even with a permit. That's the biggest abuse you can make to any country. The laws must be fully implemented. And we call on the judiciary to reinforce the issue of title ownership of people. And then you build on somebody's land, leased land, you keep that guy in court for almost 10 years going to court, preventing him or her from accessing that land to do what the person wants to do. As if you have committed no crime. I think we must put an end to that. That means we have to protect that important document. If we fail to do that, where we reach a stage where the banking sector, the finance sector does not honor that document, then the financial structure will collapse in our country. Then we have nowhere to go. This country, this government, everything will collapse. Because once your financial sector is dead, you're gone. As I always said, a failed economy is worse than a revolting army. And one of the worst means of observing a failed economy is to have a collapsed financial sector in any country. And that means the courts must reinforce the importance of a leased document as a title of ownership. It is key if we want to move this country forward. We cannot joke with it. And people who offend should be dealt with accordingly. People who abuse it should be dealt with accordingly. And I believe that we have the opportunity now to do it. And we've also observed one of the beauties of this document. People grab land. They go and fence it because they have money to buy it. They prevent others from having access to that land because they are powerful. They fence this land. Now that will end. If you fence it, you pay tax, heavy tax to the state. You can no longer grab land and think that you will make billions just after 3-5 years on us, which is our land that you access by buying it cheap. This policy now, when fully implemented, you will pay tax, heavy tax, for not using that land. And that's why I believe this policy has come at the right time. Some of us who can afford to buy it, some of us who found survival to be difficult because they don't have a title that they can go and mortgage with the bank to start a business, would end up taking the easiest way is to sell. Once you sell on the price, then of course what happens? You become a loser forever. And the people with the muscles will become richer and richer, and we become poorer and poorer. This policy is out to address that. Make sure that whatever you acquire, you pay the tax to the state. And I think it is important that as a country we come together. This is not about politics, it's about our country's survival, very existence, getting this policy in place. When we are out of government, another government will come in and will, of course, pursue the same policy. It's good that the government of Adama Barrow initiated this. He's bold enough to say, we must do it now. We cannot wait for tomorrow. But that means it belongs to the entire Gambian people. And across the board, everybody was involved in the formulation of this policy. We reach out to everyone, even the Bar Association. When they were complaining to me, why should the Bar head the legal unit, legal aspect of the policy, I said, as far as I'm concerned, that's the best thing that can happen to this policy. Because they are the one who goes to court to argue cases. Let them be the people to head it and put their input in the document. And it happened. So it is time that all of us to think that poverty should not deprive us of our right to own land and to be respected and have dignity. I'll give you one example. I don't want to name the name, but there was this young man who gained scholarship to go to the United Kingdom to go and study. The daddy did not have much. He went to a businessman. I know the person. He said, I want to help my son go to UK for studies. And then he said, so what? I said, I have nothing. I have only land. They went to the farms. He gave him a huge chunk of land because the man is desperate. If the guy had got a title, he would go to the bank and mortgage the money, mortgage the property and go for the son to, but he doesn't have a title. The son went, studied and graduated, came back. Asked Daddy, why should we give all this land to this man because he only paid for my ticket and helped me go and study? Where am I going to survive and my sisters and other members of the family? These are questions we should start asking. You think that boy is wrong to demand from that land that they took away from his father because they just wanted him to go and study? I believe the boy have a right to demand part of land back to him because he was desperate. They didn't have a title. And that's why it is important that we must facilitate and help people to have title of ownership of their land so that tomorrow when they want to access resources, they can do so. And this policy also will address that. Gambians have been suffering. For 5 years, sometimes you try to lease a property. You can never get it leased. You have your document dumped somewhere at the Office of Physical Planning or Lands at the ministry with nobody looking at your file because there is one letter missing. They will not even call you to say bring the letter or do that. They will dump your file there. Only to find your file lost, you have to go and get another file. Sometimes you get 3 files before you get your lease. This policy will address that. We are digitalizing it to make sure you get your title on time, to make sure you know the benefit of your land, title, what you can do with it. And I think these are all the important things that we must look into this policy. Some investors in the agricultural sector left the country. They've been duped. Unscrupulous people selling them land that doesn't belong to them. They've been robbed. They left the Gambia. Every day we see cases of that nature. And those who are committing those crimes get away with it. Nobody punishes them. Even when they are arrested, you take them to the police station, next 1 hour they are released. Can that continue in our country? When are we going to develop our agriculture when people cannot access land fairly and squarely? When are we going to do that? When are we going to stop importing rice and other basic commodities if people are being cheated even by accessing land to do farming? I think we must look inwards, all of us together. How can we have this policy to address some of our issues that are important, that are there to help move our country forward? For me, that's why I believe that this policy has come at the right time for the Gambia, for us to address these issues. I must thank Mr. Toure very specially. When I took over office of the ministry, I found there were 3 people interviewed who were to be employed for the position that Mr. Toure is handling now. As soon as I saw the names, I said, this is the name we are going to appoint. This man. He has the knowledge, he has the experience, and he has lived it in this country. Mr. Toure, thank you for serving your country in the moment. We must sacrifice to serve our country, no matter what. You never hear him discuss politics in his life. All what he discusses is his job. And these are the things that we need in our country. We need people who should be respected by virtue of their profession, by virtue of what they are contributing to their country. And I think unless and until Gambians start recognizing people who excel, unless we start recognizing people who have done better, unless we start recognizing people who are doing excellent, we will be failing. Let's recognize people where they deserve to be recognized. And I must say that this team has done a fantastic job. When I was at the World Bank, our World Bank, I met this fantastic guy there. We went everywhere, and we went to every meeting. We had 54 sessions in 3 days. And I saw the level of knowledge and their willingness to help the Gambia. Their determination to make sure that this policy becomes a reality. And their commitment to finance, to continuously financing this policy. As I discussed it with the president yesterday, he said, yes, Minister, it's good to have a policy, but it must be implemented. It can only be good, it's good, but it can only be excellent when it is fully implemented. And therefore, the costing of the policy comes next. The policy must be costed and must be implemented. Mr. Waka, international consultant, World Bank, we are here to say, help us implement this policy. We need the resources. The Gambian people need the resources for this policy to be fully implemented. And we must also take this opportunity to thank His Excellency President Barrow for standing firm, every day inquiring about this policy, to make sure that this policy is operational as soon as possible and let Gambians start seeing sanity in the management and usage of land in the Gambia. This is key. We can't do without it. We have to. It's our country. Nobody will do it for us. So on that note, Mr. MC, I would say thank you to all of you, and I now declare this very important workshop officially open for us to move forward and make sure that at least we deliberate on this document. Let's argue, agree, disagree, to make sure that we come out with a government document that after a few years can be improved upon. Because we know that we'll go through so many amendments in some of the Land Act, Local Government Act. A lot of acts will be amended to suit the current policy, to make sure that we pay a price that we deserve to have a better land management and land usage policy. It's key and very important to this country. On that note, and also on behalf of the press and FAO representative, I saw her. She was one of the first people to enter this hall. And Madam, you're most welcome, and we appreciate your coming. And on that note, I wish you a successful deliberation. Members of the press too. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable, for such beautiful statement, and wish you good luck in this endeavor for the land policy. Next on the agenda, we have a brief presentation by